Hi, and welcome back to your personal advisor. In this video, I will start giving advice to those who have responded to the Google form. Oh, and by the way, the Google form is still currently open for you to write down your problems that I can advise you on perhaps next week. The link will be in the description below. Okay, so the first problem I received is similar to another one, so I'm going to combine them together. And it is about self-hatred and the thought of being a burden to someone else. In my opinion, you should first evaluate why you hate yourself and come up with a list of few reasons to rationalize your feelings of self-hatred. Because if you can't come up with any, then there's really no reason why you should hate yourself. It could have only been a momentary feeling of awfulness. And I'm not saying that you should immediately feel less self-hatred after this, because really it takes time. However, do not let it overcome you. Sometimes these feelings of hatred could actually be a turning point and reflection on what you could have done better in that situation. I mean, based on experience, my feelings of self-hatred are mostly temporary because I analyze the situation I am in and see how I could have reacted or did something differently. And if you feel like a burden to someone, think about why you feel that way, or what might you have done that makes you feel that way. And if you can't come up with anything, then again, there's no reason for you to hate yourself. Additionally, if you do come up with reasons, the only open choice is to change the way you think or think about what you could have done better. I really advise you to focus on yourself first and rationalize your thoughts of self-hatred, then move on rationalizing why you might have felt like a burden to someone, and maybe you can understand this feeling more rather than just telling yourself, ugh, I hate myself, with no reason. Even if you have flaws, that doesn't mean you're a bad person. And just because you might have did something wrong, that doesn't mean that you can't be better. We're all learning from our mistakes, so it's okay. Moving on, the second problem, which is about friendship, where they stated that I have two friend groups I like to hang out with. I love them both equally. I feel like when I hang out with one of them, I neglect the other, and both groups have noticed that. I feel bad, I don't know what to do. Okay, well, first of all, it is okay to be in two separate friend groups, so I'm not saying you should ditch one of them for the other. Don't. But in my opinion, since you love them both equally, I'm assuming you go to hangouts with both friend groups. I kind of feel like each of the friend groups should understand that you're in two separate friend groups. Okay, look at it this way. You have two friends, but those two friends are not friends with each other. In this situation, these two friends will have to come up with an understanding that when you hang out with the other, that doesn't mean you're ditching the other one, and vice versa. Maybe I advise you to talk with each friend group and see what they think. In this case, I don't want you to get rid of one friend group, but making an understanding would be a better approach to this situation. The third problem is also made by the previous person, which is the following. I'm having another problem where I can't decide between two classes. Think of it as IBHL and SL per se. I find this HL course too hard, but I'm not enjoying my SL course. Compared to the SL course, I had more inconsistent grades in the HL course, but I enjoy it much more. Which should I choose? According to what I can see there, you're in a dilemma between consistent grades and the feeling of enjoyment in a class. It really depends on which you prioritize, really. If you prioritize consistent grades, then I suggest you pick the SL course, but if you prefer enjoying a class, I suggest you pick the HL one instead. In my opinion, maybe you should pick the SL class instead, because the feeling of enjoyment can be found even in a hated class, as feelings can change, but grades, you know, I'm not saying it can't be changed, but it's just harder. All in all, it is really up to you, but that's just my advice. On to the next problem, where it states family issues, academic and social stress, confidence/insecurities for basically everything. Since it is quite vague, I don't really know what specific advice to give, but I'll try. So first, family issues. In general, it is best to talk to your family about the issues your family is facing. Maybe they could have a clearer view of what might be happening as they can see it from your point of view. Just be honest about how you're feeling, and maybe they can understand. And by understanding a situation, people tend to rationalize their thoughts and think that the issue is probably not worth making a big deal out of. And if things go out of hand, maybe create an agreement. Secondly, for academic and social stress, if you're thinking of academic stress as in grades, then I advise you to think that these grades are only numbers and do not define like how smart you are. In scenarios where you might have accidentally get a low score, maybe it's a turning point for you to understand that you could have improved. I suggest you think of it that way instead of remembering it and then stressing about it. I'm not saying you can, because again, I can't control how you feel, but just don't let it overpower you, because grades are really just grades. And maybe think of the good grades you might have gotten as well. With social life and stress, I really do not have any say because I'm bad at socializing too. Oops. But what I do is try to come up with questions or topics to talk about during socializing. And if it gets awkward, try to come up with the most random question to ask them. And by random, I mean the weirdest. It could keep a conversation going. Finally, for confidence, it is okay to feel insecure once in a while because it's normal. Everyone experiences it. Despite the common ideology where people tend to encourage others to feel confident and not care about what others think of you, I advise you don't have to feel entirely confident in yourself. You could just exist. And with your insecurities, I suggest you ask yourself, is this worth being insecure about? Or has anyone actually pointed out that insecurity, or is it all just your thought? Take this concept into consideration. You don't have to be a half full cup or a half empty cup. You can just be that cup, and I think that's already good. But maybe that's not the goal you would like to reach in terms of confidence, but that might be a pretty good step to take. And even if it's hard and takes a lot of time, I'm sure you'll be okay. You have reached the end of my very first advice video. Congratulations. I would like to apologize in advance if the advice given was not effective. However, I am eager to learn, and if you have any inputs on how I could improve both advice-wise and video-wise, you can leave a comment down below. And finally, don't forget to subscribe for weekly videos, and I'll probably see you next week. Bye bye.